Save me a slice of pecan pie. That's my favorite. Big week around here as the Cincinnati Bengals come to town to take on the Ravens. It has been tough sledding for Marvin Lewis and the men in the orange and black. We welcome John Popovich in from WCPO. Popo, as they like to call him, out in the Queen City. He is a sports director at WCPO and has been for 37 years. And, John, this is, I don't want to say surprising, but I think everybody's shocked that the Bengals are sort of teetering on the brink of extermination here at the hands of the Ravens, and it's only Thanksgiving week. The folks in Cincinnati have had a nice run of good football. This is a weird down year for them right now.
Yeah, it feels a lot like the 90s when it seemed like 3 and 4 win years and 5 was good. And, it's been a good run, although people have been disappointed in recent years just because they have got to the playoffs 5 years in a row, but they've never got past that first round. So this year, you knew it was going to be tough. They had a lot of difficult teams off the beginning of it, and of course, people said, "Oh, Dallas is an easy win." Well, that Dallas hasn't been easy for anybody.
No, the whole NFC East has been a mess for all of us. I think, right?
That's exactly it. So it is very disappointing right now.
Well, and in the case of Marvin, and my relationship with Marvin extends back before your relationship with Marvin. And, I saw him up in New York last week, and, folks are asking me what's up with him. And I said, they've had stability there, which is something, as you know, over 37 years. The Brown family was never known for that so much in sort of a good way, in a lot of cases hanging on to people too long. Marvin's been the best thing that's ever happened to Cincinnati football. I think that's sort of hard for people to chew on after 13 years in a disappointing year. But, around the country, the call comes, well, it's the end for Marvin, and I'm like, maybe not so fast. I mean, Brian Billick said it earlier this week. They could find another coach, but not a better coach than Marvin Lewis.
Well, I tend to agree with that, and you mentioned the stability. Marvin learned that in Baltimore, and he learned that in Pittsburgh, that you don't keep changing coaches. Plus, then, when he came to Cincinnati, he changed the culture here. He helped this become a much more professional franchise with the development of players, the signing of your key players. I guess the only question I have right now is whether they did sign the right players. They seem a little bit slow. They seem a little bit, maybe some of the guys are on the back edge, and they let some guys like Marvin Jones get away, who's having a terrific year. A playmaker on defense, Reggie Nelson, got away, and
watching him run around the other night down in Mexico, right? I mean, but they did keep. When I look at this defense and the offensive line, I can tell you Cincinnati's team from 3 years ago. It's very similar to what it looks like this year. They managed to keep the core together, but then that core has to go out and play up to those expectations and up to those numbers. I mean, some of the guys, Michael Johnson left, come back, right? I mean, Dunlop, Pecco, Atkins, that group, Maluga's been together for 5 years now.
That's exactly right. But I think you'll look at Geno Atkins and you'll look at Carlos Dunlap and say they're not having their best years. Pecco is probably on the downside a little bit. A couple of corners, Drake Kirkpatrick and Darquez Dennard, are first-round draft picks. But I'm not sure they're playing as good as a Leon Hall or a Reggie Nelson or Terrence Newman, some guys they've had in the past, some mature, stable guys. And I think that's hurt them. The defense has been playing better the last couple of games. The question mark is the offense has been pretty much awful most of the time.
Visiting with Popo, John Popovich from WCPO in Cincinnati. All right, so this week, no A.J. Green. We've played a lot of games this year without our best players. I mean, Suggs was missing for a time. He's playing with one arm. Yanda was missing for a time. He's playing with one arm at this point. We had weeks without Steve Smith and without C.J. Mosley, without our number one pick in Ronnie Stanley. And certainly last week, without Jimmy Smith, we were a different defense. I can't imagine when you take 40% of this offense away, which is what A.J. Green has established thus far this year, really their number one threat, their only threat. Now take him out of this. This can't be a real positive thing for the Bengals offense this week.
It is. It is unbelievable when you take him out because you've taken away the threat. And I have to think. John Harbaugh and his guys walked into that meeting room and they start game planning and they go, okay, let's see, what do we do about A.J. Green? Oh, we don't have to worry about him this week. Okay, how about they like to toss the ball over to Giovanni Bernard? We don't have to worry about him this week because he's out for the rest of the season. And it's hard to believe where they're going to find the offense because Tyler Boyd is a nice guy out of Pittsburgh that they've been able to pick up, but he's probably a couple years away from doing anything. And the rest of the guys just haven't been able to fill the gap that Marvin Jones and Mohamed Sanu left behind. Those guys did a decent job when A.J. Green was hurt in the past. They don't have those guys anymore. And Tyler Eifert is probably going to be blanketed because he's the guy that Andy Dalton's going to have to turn to.
Well, I think, a lot of this was sort of hanging on, waiting for him to get back. I mean, I know when the Ravens were in their 4-game streak in October where they didn't win, they were just waiting to get healthy football players back. And Eifert was a big part of what the offense wanted to do there. And I think from Andy Dalton's perspective and having all those weapons around him that made him look so good the last couple of years, as Flacco has found out here, when you lose weapons, when we lost Torrey Smith, lose Anquan Bolden, Dennis Pitta was hurt for a couple of years, when those things change, it certainly changes the quarterback, and it changes the kind of protection that he's going to get on the offensive line as well.
Well, that's exactly right. Gio Bernard is very good at picking up the blitz. The other thing that has changed is not just the weapons with the offensive, the receivers, but it is the line. The line has been really disappointed, and this is made up of guys that have been around for a little bit. They have some high draft picks there. The only change was Andre Smith. Left free agency and went to Minnesota, and Cedric Ogbuehi, who was a number 1 pick a year ago, has filled in. But it's been very disappointing. Andy Dalton's been running for his life most of the time. So I think if you start to look at things that break down, I've seen this with other Bengal teams that have shown great potential, but when that offensive line goes, it just you don't have anywhere to go.
John, everybody saw the Vontaze Burfict thing last year, and I know we talked about it in the offseason. Heck, I've talked to everybody in Cincinnati about it, but I think around the country, anyone that was up late that night and saw that and then sees where the Bengals are at 3-6-1 right now would say that, that's sort of the end of Rome for Marvin, for the franchise, and for where they were, that they're going to go into this lull. I don't know that anything could be brought on by that, but I know it didn't help the 8 months of the offseason, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are wondering right now whether that was the real chance for the Bengals to do something, get past the Steelers and go further in the playoffs. They missed that chance, and perhaps they missed their window where players were playing at their peak. They had the best guys in uniform at that point, and that maybe that window has closed a little bit right now, and they have to start retooling with some of these guys, which Marvin has done well in the past, and they've been able to turn over the young talent and keep guys from getting too old. But, boy, I'll tell you what, the last month, and I think the London trip took a toll on this team, too. They've looked tired the last couple of weeks since they got back from London.
I guess a lot of teams will figure that out. I was with Jack Del Rio out in Oakland last week. They're going to see the back end of coming back from Mexico City. But the London thing is, foreign to all of the players and all of the teams. And I don't know that anybody's ever come back from London and caught fire, right? I mean, that's part of what the league is studying over the last 5 or 6 years of sending teams over there, that most teams find when they come back, they find tired legs. That's a tough trip.
I'm sure it's not just their legs. I remember talking to Pac-Man Jones about it, and I says, this is as tough as Thursday night football. He says, Thursday night football isn't anything compared to this. I mean, I think just the whole time clock. Plus, you're expected to somehow sleep on the way over there. And depending, and then the Bengals did a very short trip. They left on a Thursday night, got there Friday morning, played, came right back after the game. So they tried to make it almost like a West Coast trip, how they do it. But I think all those, and I could see all of the players, they don't think much of it. If they're going to go sightseeing, they'd prefer to go as a regular person sometime in the summertime.
John Popovich joining us here. Popovich, excuse me. I knew I was going to get that wrong. That's what happens when you know a few Popoviches. John Popovich, WCPO. He is Popo and the sports director out there, 37 years and running. Yeah, what's up with Andy Dalton? Is he still going to be there 3-4 years from now? You get to the witching hour where you really have to step up and pay these guys. And I know that's been part of the issue with the Bengals, with Marvin Jones and some other guys they would have liked to have kept around. Certainly the Ravens have had that issue with a $20+ million quarterback.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, I don't think there's any hurry to get Andy Dalton out of town. He's well thought of, although you know as well as I do, the backup quarterback is always the most popular guy in town, and people saw a little of A.J. McCarron last year, and they liked what they saw of him. I don't think we know what he is long-term, and he's going to get the chance with somebody if he doesn't get it with the Bengals. But The one thing is they have to keep some stability here. Now, Andy has gone through a string of offensive coordinators. I mean, Hugh Jackson and
Jay Gruden, sure,
and they're just at some point, and this year it's Ken Zampese, who has been his quarterback coach, but it's different. I still think as a quarterback coach and an offensive coordinator, the guy calling the plays, it's a little different now. So it'll be this off season is going to be really interesting because Mike Brown isn't like any other owner. He doesn't react to what fans say. He doesn't react to the media. He just does his own thing. And if he thinks, and Marvin's under contract for another year, so I don't think anybody's changing Marvin or Andy Dalton.
So you see Marvin surviving this, no matter how badly it goes in the next 6 weeks, because with no A.J. Green, I mean, this could be a 1-5 finish, a 2-4. I mean, it certainly doesn't look like it's going to be a 5-1 flurry at this point, right?
It doesn't to me. We do a podcast we did this week, and we talked about that exact thing. And frankly, we saw only probably 2 wins that may be out of this final stretch of games. I can't see that it's going to be much better because they haven't shown any potential the last couple of years. If they catch fire, it's going to come out of nowhere.
Well, it really is amazing. They've only won 1 game since September, and that was against the Browns. You're going to see the Browns again in a couple of weeks, and Lord knows Hugh has his own problems up there at this point. They might not win, but you can't let the Browns be the team that beat you, right?
You can't, but I'll tell you what. I think when they go up to Cleveland, that is going to be one that the Browns have to be pointing to, saying, hey, this is our chance. A.J. Green burned them big time down here. And with him out of the lineup, if he's not playing still at that point, I think Hugh Jackson will devise some ways, and he knows that the Bengals are pretty much limited in what they could do offensively. And if he has a quarterback that's able to stand up by that time, that might be prime time for Cleveland.
Yeah, you mentioned Cleveland and them being awful. That's, standard operating. But for all 3 of these teams, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, and the Ravens, this has been a weird year, right? I mean, all 3 of the teams are down, and we're sitting around here feeling bad about ourselves and have a piece of first place because at 5-5, it's pretty obvious 9 wins is going to win this division, right? I mean, between Baltimore and Pittsburgh, and now Cincinnati's made the fade. This is that year we've all been waiting for where all 3 of these teams seem to be a little grounded all at the same time.
Yeah, it does seem to me. I thought the Ravens have made a stride forward after having a disappointing last season. The Steelers seem to be the greatest disappointment because they started strong. Everybody was talking about them as possible Super Bowl team. The Bengals, I just figured they were going to struggle just because they had a lot of road trips to begin with, and they had some tough teams to begin with. When they lost their first 4 games, they were against all 4 teams were leading their division. So it wasn't an easy stretch. But you're right. It is a very awkward year in the division, and to be able to go into this game with only 3 wins and still people are saying, well, mathematically they're still very much in it. That's crazy.
Well, Papo, I will begin yet another year in Cincinnati. Every New Year's Eve, I'm there watching the fireworks at Fountain Square. I'm sure this year will be no different as we play you guys on New Year's Day. We'll see you guys on Sunday. Have a great Thanksgiving. It's always great visiting with you out there.
Thank you. Appreciate the call. Have a great Thanksgiving.
You got it. John Popovich, you can follow his journey out on Twitter as well. 37 years in Cincinnati, Ohio at WCPO. He is a sports director there. He is Popo, that's P-O-P-O _WCPO Sports out on Twitter and at WCPO.com as well. You can find me out in the Bayou Toyota Audio Vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device. Just download the TuneIn Radio app. We come in crystal clear from wherever you are. Morning Newspaper delivers to your email inbox free of charge and powered up by Planet Fitness and PlanetFitness.com. Still $10 a month to get in the best shape of your life there. And last but never least, when there is breaking news, including on Tuesday morning, there was some breaking news out of the Orioles camp in regard to their pitching coach situation. We sent that text out right away. Roger McDowell is going to be the pitching coach. Alan Mills, the bullpen coach, my old pal. Probably my all-time favorite Oriole player. Not probably, definitely. Alan Mills is my all-time favorite Oriole player. Yes, that's true. So back in the bullpen with the Orioles. Congratulations to Millsy, who was one of the good ones, as they say. Nasty at WNST.net. That reaches me. That's my email. I am a very available individual through the holiday. I'll be eating pumpkin pie and answering emails. I'll be out on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, probably usually drinking beer with my mom because it's what we do during the holidays, along with the cranberry and the stuffing and all that other good stuff. We're going to be at Buffalo Wild Wings on Monday night, as we are every Monday night. We had a heck of a wing-eating competition on Monday. I had to broadcast it on the Facebook Live there. We had 6 serious blazing wing eaters. We also give away our $100 gift card as well as the fully loaded limo on Monday night. It's all the best seat in the house promotion. We do it at Buffalo Wild Wings in Owings Mills. Big thanks to Zach Orr for Tuesday night at Buffalo Wild Wings in Bel Air. Be back up in Hartford County, we think, with Zach next week. We're getting a full announcement on that tomorrow as we head into Black Friday and the weekend. I'm Nestor. This is WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.